Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and our ongoing study in Jürgen Moltmann's new book, The Spirit of Hope. We're going to take a look at chapter 3, pages 33 to 45, and we're going to build on that phenomenology that we learned about in chapter 2. So now we're going to look at the practical consequence of the theological phenomenology in chapter 2. Now, how do we move from phenomenology to a policy of an earth economy and a theory of an earth economy and a praxis of celebrating and living according to the Sabbath year? Let's go to block 1 and take a look at from a universal phenomenology to a particular policy of earth economy. Because of the new means of communication, we are all neighbors. Communication creates communion. Physical distance is shrinking and interdependence is growing. We have a growing interdependence. We have a growing interdependence. We are emerging into one humanity. Wealth is being globalized by banks. However, we have failed to listen to the common voice of the earth. It is globalization at the expense of Earth's resources, says Moltmann. So what about that common voice of the earth? Conditions for life are being threatened by our view of progress. There are limits to growth that we ignore. World politics needs to transition to earth politics, says Moltmann. So from world politics to earth politics, we'll move through 3 stages. First, the transnational foreign policy based on the principles that created the United Nations. Then world domestic policy that has as its focus survival interest. And then the common earth policy with strategies to face ecological disasters in the future. Evolving to an earth economy. The 19th century brought us macroeconomics and a regulated domestic market and international trade agreements, but international companies have emerged to transcend all of those limits. Macroeconomics. Transnational companies have shaken off political regulation. Instead, they regulate the policy themselves. Political institutions have not kept pace with the world economy, says Moltmann. Governments must put pressure on the world economy to become an earth economy. So we're talking about responsibility for an earth economy that will take care of the natural world. Earth's resources will one day be exhausted. Economic growth is linear and quantitative, but an earth economy will learn Earth's cyclical time and develop renewable energies. So it's all about this need to develop renewable energies. World religions have universal validity, found everywhere, which celebrate life's events. They offer something universal. So there can be a contribution from world religion, and somehow we have to find the practical means for making our phenomenology a practical praxis ministry. Let's move into block 2 and take a look at moving from a policy of earth economy to a living theory of earth economy. We've moved from agrarian to modern society. The pre-modern world was agrarian and was centered on the cycle of the earth. The industrial revolution created the anthropocentric age. The self became the center of the world. The anthropocentric age. Nature became environment. The village as hub was transitioned to the city as hub. in the modern age, and the city does not interact with its landscape. In the cities, any natural religion has died away. We've seen the death of any natural religion. Modern religion is individualized and reflects the following: separation between religion and politics. Religion is a private matter. It creates a multi-religious society, and through the internet it becomes global, but it also becomes fundamentally altered and a patchwork type of religion. It makes no demands and it offers no real comfort. We have many religions and one earth. In religion, earth stands for the duality of the world, heaven and earth, visible and invisible. But there is also an interdependence between populated and unpopulated regions of the earth. We call this considering the biosphere. And out of the concept of biosphere has come the term Gaia theory. Gaia theory, which is a Greco-Roman concept. Gaia theory. It's an understanding of the earth as an organism that creates the habitats for life. To understand the self, we must begin with the earth as a nature subject. Not as object, but as nature subject. Earth as nature subject. Gaia was the Greek goddess of the earth, the mother of all creation. Her son was Chronos, time. She was the personification of earth, where the earth is self-regulating and a complex organism. In contrast with natural religion, however, Abrahamic religions were religions of history. If you go back to the Old Testament, we're talking about religions of history. God reveals himself in the world of humanity. And secondly, God is recognized in nature. Humanity stands between the divine and the earthly, according to the Old Testament. And so, in Block 2, we learned that our heritage as Christians is the Abrahamic religion, which is God revealing himself in the world of humanity. From there we go to Block 3. We take a look at moving from the theory of the earth as organism to the concrete praxis of the Sabbath year, which is a teaching in the Old Testament. Cooperation between world religions. They must cooperate by becoming earth religions, by transforming themselves into universal religions of the earth, with a reverence toward local nature, and enable the rights of the earth to be honored, and interpret the pre-industrial wisdom for the post-industrial age. We must honor the rights of the earth. World religions usually focus on the world beyond. This world is made a stranger. This attitude contributes to the ecological crisis. To reach the ends of the earth means turning back toward the earth and giving back its beauty and giving back its virtue. The beauty and the virtue of the earth. The Hebrew Bible offers an earth religion in the form of the Sabbath year, which occurs every 7th year, by leaving the land fallow. Sabbath rest is blessed by God, and to disobey this command meant to be cast out and scattered among the nations. We need to make the joy of heaven the delight of the earth, says Moltmann. And that means remembering our Hebrew heritage and remembering the Sabbath year and remembering the virtue of the earth and our responsibility toward God's creation. So we move from phenomenology, which is the pivot point for the entire book in chapter 2, to now looking at some practical considerations in chapter 3. We start to move into some practical considerations. We have to develop new political policies, transnational foreign policy, world domestic policy, and common earth policy. That's what we learned in Block 1. At the political level, at the practical political level, it's all about getting together and forming transnational policies that will allow the earth to renew itself. In Block 2, we move a little further on and we start looking at the earth as organisms. So we start looking at a heritage in the Greco-Roman world when the Gaia, goddess of the earth, was a personification of the earth as living organism. And that must be coupled with our historical view of the Abraham covenant. So we link this honoring of God's creation with the Abraham covenant in Block 2. And we realize that God is not just transcendent over the creation, He is also immanently present in spirit in creation. And we are to give back creation the virtue that it deserves and the beauty that it deserves, and to honor it as a living organism. And then in Block 3, we learn that we can link this with the Abrahamic covenant because within that covenant and within the Hebrew religion was the concept of Sabbath year. Moltmann says as Christians we need to reaffirm our Hebrew heritage and reaffirm this responsibility which was expressed in the term Sabbath year, and allow the joy of heaven to interpenetrate the delight of the earth by truly honoring the covenant with Abraham that included all of creation. So we've moved into some very practical aspects in chapter 3. We still are certainly blessed by chapter 2. And remember in chapter 2, we had the phenomenology from Moltmann that man is hypostasis. He is to interpret, recognize, and interpret the real of creation that lies behind finitude. The real of creation, which is God interpenetrating creation. Kingdom of God, moving creation forward toward God's glory. That means we take up the role of hypostasis. Remember, we define and posit the essence of existence, hypostasis, and then we do that by what? Participating in the Trinitarian history of God. So creation, the earth, also contains within it a Trinitarian history of the living God, called the kingdom of Jesus Christ. And then we build out of that a foundational and developing theology of hope. All of that we learned in chapter 2, but it feeds the practical that we have here in chapter 3. So we have to remember our phenomenology. We have to remember, above all else, that our role is the role of hypostasis, defining the essence of existence and positing the essence of existence and creation, which is, for us, the kingdom of God revealed in Jesus Christ. The world is suffering, it is in turmoil, and yet, as Christians, we still believe that behind this turmoil, behind this threat, is the promise of God's glory and the promise of the parousia, returning Jesus Christ. And the fulfillment of creation, we perceive creation as not done yet. It's moving. Remember, we learned that in the previous lesson as well. It's moving from dunamis, potentiality, to energia, actuality, where it will eventually reach doxa, glory, as we participate by taking up naming creation, hypostasis, identifying and positing the essence of existence. And we do that in practical ways in chapter 3, by developing new political policies. foreign, domestic, and earth policies, and by remembering our Hebrew heritage. The fact that it's a historical heritage, that it included a covenant with creation itself. And it was exemplified in a doctrine of the Sabbath year. A doctrine of the Sabbath year. That's going to wrap up chapter 3, pages 33 to 45, and we'll pick up next time in chapter 4, beginning with page 46.